Welcome to Subramani. I'm going to talk to you a little about the investing map or a roadmap which a retiree should have at the time of his retirement. So it's going to be a little longish video, so please have a look. Who should be watching this? Anybody above 54, 55 who is going to retire maybe in the next 5-7 years or 10 years, or somebody who is 60 who is about to retire tomorrow. Or if you're an advisor, you could watch about what you should be talking to your customer. So first of all, everybody will admit that making that transition from the saver investor to the withdrawer is not a very easy one. It is exactly the difference like between putting a man on moon and bringing him back. Two completely different things, right? Putting a man on moon is a completely different thing. Bringing it back is again far more difficult perhaps. So we are now talking of bringing the man back. So this is what you have to plan. And so let us look at some of the baby steps. First of all, you have to devise an asset allocation, which is very difficult because you're talking of saving stroke investing, which you have done for last 30 years. Now you have to do saving, investing, withdrawing for the next 40 years. That is the challenge. Now when you're 60 years of age, you need to have money which you will need at 61, 71, 81, 91 and at 99. Right? I'm assuming you will live till the age of 100. So which means it is a ultra short term, you need short term, you need medium term, you need long term investments, and very long term, because 40 years is very long term. 30 years could be long term, 40 years is very long term. You have to have money lasting through this whole thing. It is a complete portfolio management thing. Second, there is no fallback, there is no income coming in. So at 35, if you lost money, you didn't have to worry because you have a salary coming in next month. Here there is nothing coming in. All the withdrawals and growth, everything have to be put into this, have to come out of this rather. So how much money you should have for doing this whole thing? We have always said you should have 30 times your annual expenses. So assuming your annual expenses are 5 lakhs, you should have 1.5 crores. And then we have seen bucket theories and all. Today I'm not covering any of those things. I'm just saying, it is crucial to do your homework. Do all your homework. How much money you have, what budget, how much are you going to spend, how much are you going to spend on travel and healthcare. Remember, travel is optional, healthcare is not, right? So whether you're going to do expensive travel, whether you're going to travel abroad, whether you're going to, even if you're traveling abroad, are you going to stay in hotels or are you going to stay with your children? If you stay with your children, the only cost is the travel cost, and which includes the ticket and the healthcare. But if you are going to go on vacations to say South America or African safaris and things like that, obviously the cost is much higher. You need specialized equipment, you need specialized clothes, right? So all those things have to be built in, factored in before you sit down and do your taxes. If you want international calculators, there is the Rowe Price calculator, there is the Vanguard calculator, and there are many Indian calculators. One which I liked has been the Templeton retirement calculator. You will find it on the Franklin Templeton site. Then there are very many other calculators which you can use depending on whatever is your comfort level. Go to a good calculator and find out how much money you really need. Also remember that you will never come to a perfect portfolio like none of us ever did perfect accumulation portfolio. So there will never be a perfect withdrawal portfolio. That portfolio and asset allocation which allows you to sleep at night is the best portfolio that you can have. So first, project and adjust your expenses. Make sure that your expenses are in line with how much you have. Suppose you need 2 crores for your retirement and you have exactly 2 crores, you will have to cut down on expenses because you do not know what is likely to happen in the future. But if you need 2 crores for retirement and you find that you have 4.5, 5 crores, then you're far more comfortable and you can be far more flexible. You can travel more, you can have better travel plans, right? You can do all those things depending on the amount of surplus that you have. Higher income people will obviously have more money, but the chances are they will spend more on travel. and it is possible that if you do proper shopping and look around, you will find good options available. For example, you can go to a place like a Tadoba and spend 15,000-16,000 rupees over a 4-day period, or you could spend 35,000 rupees in the same time staying in a better place, and etc., right? So you make your choice depending on whether you want to make 4 trips a year or whether you want to make 1 trip a year. Though depending on that you will spend, right? A budget in retirement is perhaps far more valuable than a budget during your working days. Yes, you had a budget, you lived by a budget, you need to live by a budget now. Make it a habit, because if you have been living on a budget, you know what you're doing. So that will decide your withdrawal rates, etc. From which bucket to withdraw will be decided by the state of the market, right? So a budget is very valuable even in retirement, and not just during your employment days. Take another important thing to do is to make sure that you plan in such a way that your guaranteed levels of income are pretty high. Now, one of the things which people do to have a guaranteed income is to give a place on rent. But be careful here, because having a place to be given on rent and being a landlord is not very easy, because the tenant is going to call you and say this is not working and that is not working, and those things have to be attended to. You have to attend a couple of society meetings, one in the place where you live and one in the place which you own. There will be conflict, there will be repair work going on, all that. So that's not very easy. So see what can be your definite sources of income. For people other than rent, I can't really think of too much. India does not have social security, so the only thing you're left with is to create an annuity. So how much of annuity to create and how to annuitize is something on which you have to break your head. I have found that buying annuity in 2-3 stages makes more sense. To buy one when you're about 67-68, buy one when you're 77-78, and buy one when you're 85, right? 3 stages. Suppose you want to put 3 crores in annuity, 1 makes sense. I'm not adjusting it for time value. What happens is you will be sure that till the rest of your life or the end of your life, you will definitely get a pension that will be good enough for you to live. Apart from creating buckets with your other money, this is one thing which you can do. Deciding on how much to annuitize and when to annuitize is not very easy, so please consult an advisor for doing the same thing. When you annuitize, you're doing the worst thing. You're going into an asset which will not give very good returns, and the full thing is taxable. So that is it's a double whammy. It's very bad, but still it is worth buying an immediate annuity if you have never bought one in your life. If you have bought one, you just have to figure out when you want to start the pension. Some funds give you the flexibility, many funds do not give you the flexibility, right? There is nothing else that you can do as to about annuity. It is taxable and it is inefficient, but you still have to have it, because that is the only thing which will be there for the rest of your life. It is one asset which will never come to zero when you're alive. Any of your other funds, something can go wrong in your debt fund, equity fund, hybrid fund, anything, something can go wrong. Annuity will never go to zero. Until you live, you will get a regular income per month. So that's one of the best things that can happen. If you're 60, don't rule out that you will get some work, and when you get some work, just take it up. If you can earn enough in that where you don't have to touch your corpus, that itself is great, because it means that your corpus is growing and your safety increases. So if you can teach till the age of 65 instead of till the age of 60, or if you can do training till the age of 68 instead of the age of 60, well, you are taken care of because your portfolio is growing in that period of time. Another 8 years would mean maybe your money doubles in that time. So again, it creates your greater comfort level. Far more important, it also means you're socially more active because you're going, meeting students, meeting younger people, older people, whatever. At least you're going out of the house and meeting people. So that is another good thing about doing the work. Look at your insurance. Largely you don't need life insurance. You may not even get life insurance, not worth it. Your children are gone, they're settled. You don't there is nobody dependent on you and your wife. You have enough corpus, so even if one of you die, there's no problem. There is enough money in the corpus for the other person to live. However, you need medical insurance, so think sensibly and buy medical insurance. See from where you have to buy, see whether the agent is near your house, whether he will service, or whether you're going to get it serviced by yourself. Buying it from the company directly and staying nearby can help. Actually, cost does not change much whether you go through an agent or don't go through an agent, especially in case of medical insurance. I would always suggest go through an agent, because an agent will be able to tell you what should be the date of the certificate, what exactly the doctor should write, right? All these things are important. So I would still think you should go for medical insurance, go with a agent. For life insurance, just go online and buy it. You don't need an agent for life insurance, right? Be very flexible in your withdrawals. When the market is in a boom, withdraw from equity. When the market is in a bad shape, withdraw from debt. That is exactly how you should be using equity and debt. Right now, for example, we are talking in February 2021. Market is definitely on a higher side than on the lower side. It's a great time to be withdrawing. Say you need 50,000 rupees a month or 45,000 rupees a month. Do an SWP from your equity fund. Yes, you heard me right. Do a SWP from your equity fund. Afterward, let's say the market crashes 20-25%, and that's the time when you stop that SWP and do an SWP from your debt fund. It is as simple as that, but please do it that way. Far more important, be careful about your tax. Make sure you withdraw only the minimum amount that is required to run your household. And don't withdraw too much and pay tax. Doesn't make sense. Suppose your requirement is 45,000 to 40,000 a month. Withdraw 20,000 from your account and 20,000 from your wife's account. It is as simple as that. Don't withdraw more than what you need. In fact, if your requirement is 20,000, make sure you withdraw exactly 20. If your annual expenses are say 5-6 lakhs, out of which there is some expense which happens in Diwali, etc., withdraw it during Diwali. You don't have to withdraw it in the month of April and wait for Diwali to come, right? So keep withdrawing from debt when the markets are bad. Keep withdrawing from equity when the markets are good. I think I've summarized, I think I've said everything. So let me just summarize. So be careful. Be flexible on the withdrawal, make sense, take adequate medical insurance. The other types of insurance may not matter to you. If you're traveling, make sure you take travel insurance and you take adequate medical insurance during your travel time. And that's it. Thank you.